However, we do have our next guest that we are going to go to here in just a few moments. He will join us here on the magic of the old Skip Skype. Yes, the old Skype-a-rooney. And this is going to be an interesting interview. I almost didn't think this was going to happen tonight because I don't know what it is about sometimes when I ask people to come on this show. I just sometimes have all sorts of weird things that happen. All sorts of... They don't want to do it. It is the weirdest deal. I don't know, man. It's a weird deal. It's a weird deal. But I know a lot of people see some of the stuff that we do and they worry about some of the stuff that we're going to do. Or sometimes I'll have people that will send me emails and they'll be like, why do you want me on? And I'm like, well, it's a music show. You've made music. It's kind of what we want you to come on for. So I don't know. It's an odd thing sometimes that happens. But I'm glad we were able to make this interview work tonight. So we are going to go to our next guest, who is going to join us live, or as the Dez likes to say, live! It is called Journey into Darkness, which is kind of what I feel like this show is sometimes. And, we are going to go to our next guest. He is going to join us here in just a few moments. He is great, and I wanted to get him on today because he's got some good music. So we are going to go to a fantastic guest, Journey into Darkness, Infinite Universe, Infinite Death. It is symphonic black death metal. I don't know what the hell the difference is between that and metal, but we're going to find out with Brett here in just a few as we journey into darkness. So we're going to go to the old Skip Skype, yes, the old Skype-a-rooney, and we will get Brett on the line here. And I don't know what's going on with my damn...
Hello.
Hello, Brett. What's going on, sir?
How you doing? Let me get this camera on here so you can see my beautiful face.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I'm just
getting to get this set up.
Just trying to get everything put together here so we can we can get you on with us. By the way, I love the fact that you have proper lighting. Thank you for doing that. There are
little studio set up.
There is so many times where I have artists on this show and they're calling me from dark rooms. Mark Torian years ago, I always like to tell this story. He called in, and the only thing I could see was his face being illuminated by his cell phone in the dark. So I'm glad that we've got you with us today.
Yeah, you get to see the little dot on the end of my nose from wearing a mask.
Hey, you know,
give me a little pimple. It's been there forever.
It means you're a real person, baby. We have got a great guest with us today. Journey into Darkness, Infinite Universe, Infinite Death, Symphonic Black Death Metal. So, first of all, I have got to have the explanation from you of what in the heck Symphonic Black Death Metal is, and what is the difference between that and just regular old death metal?
Okay, let's see. Death metal is, you know what it is, basically.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little bit more of a groove to it. The vocals are growly, much more lower, Cookie Monster style vocals. Black metal is a little bit more, with the vocals are much higher pitched, more of a screeching sound. The drums are typically more of like blast beats, a little bit faster.
Okay.
The slow parts are a little less groovy, but they still can be a little groovy. So you have black metal, you
That's
have death
awesome.
metal. So there's sort of a crossover black death metal, which is just elements of both, where you hear a little bit of that death metal groove, but at the same time the different types of blast beats, so the different types of drumming. So you got those two together, and symphonic. There's both symphonic black metal and symphonic death metal, and the symphonic is just what it says. Basically, you're adding a lot of orchestral type of instruments, strings, choirs, and possibly some synthesizers also. So it's kind of blends all that together. So the style that I'm doing has a lot of different elements in it. And that kind of came from my past, actually, because I was in a death metal band in the early 90s called Sorrow.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we were on Roadrunner Records, and we were very doomy. It was like a death doom crossover. So now I've kind of brought that up to 2021, and it's more of a symphonic black death metal with a little bit of doom still in there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. Journey into Darkness is a highly anticipated third album. Infinite Universe, Infinite Death. It's available on CD, vinyl, LP, and cassette tape formats. I hear more and more people going back to cassette tapes. I've interviewed I don't know how many bands fairly recently, and they have got their stuff on cassette tapes. I think that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like it's I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, vinyl came back and cassette tapes came back, and the cassette. I guess the novelty of just having that physical product in your hand. It's analog, and it has that, like, I guess, nostalgic feel to it.
Yes.
Although I think most of the people buying it, I think, are under 30, so it's not like they grew up with cassettes. So I'm not sure what the appeal is to them, but yeah, it's definitely come back.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Journey into Darkness. This is a fantastic solo project of our guest today, Brett Carlin. He is the ex-guitarist of the classic death metal band Sorrow. They, of course, were on Roadrunner Records, as he mentioned earlier, 91 through 93. And so tell us a little bit about the run, I guess, from 91 to 93 on Roadrunner. I think that's fantastic that you were involved with that.
Yeah, it seemed fantastic at the time. Yeah, we were a thrash band called Apparition. We changed the name to Sorrow. We put some stuff out. Roadrunner found actually we went to a party there was a band Suffocation, which is a hugely popular death metal band, and at the time they had just got signed to Roadrunner, and we went to a party. I don't know if it was a Christmas party or not. It might have been, and we just threw our demo into the stereo. And the guy, Monty Connor, who signed everyone at the time, basically heard it and said, I'm going to call you guys. And it was that quick. Within a week or two, we had a contract from them. We signed. We did an EP and we did an LP with them. But unfortunately, we didn't sell enough, so we did get dropped after that. And they had a lot of death metal bands in the early 90s, Roadrunner. They were huge with the death metal bands. And they just dropped almost everyone at once. And so we were kind of part of that cleansing. And so after that we broke up. We tried to get another label after that. We were having difficulty, and after 5-6 years, 2 albums, and we were having a problem getting signed again. We were just like, we didn't want to do it anymore. At least the drummer and myself really didn't want to do it anymore. And that was it. And then I started Journey into Darkness on the side, and that turned into this whole project. 25 years later now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's great that you're out there still doing your thing and making music and making it happen. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program, talking a little bit about his latest project, and just the music is amazing. What's been some of the feedback that you've gotten on your music so far, my friend?
Really good. I mean, I know that's cliche and everyone kind of says that, but in all honesty, most of the feedback, most of the reviews have been coming back anywhere from good to very good to excellent. So that was that's really exciting because it's, as an artist, it's, we all like to kind of hear that a little bit. It makes us feel a little bit better and appreciated. I had one bad review early on, and I kind of shrugged that off. It was a little upsetting at first, but I said, all right, it's going to happen. And but all the reviews after that just came back positive. Like I said, good to very good to excellent. And yeah, I'm very happy with the response so far. Everyone's been pretty supportive of it.
I think that's great. I think that's fantastic that you're
Yeah.
you're making this happen. We have got a great guest with us today. Brett Carlin is with us. He is got Journey into Darkness.
Here's a shirt.
Look at that. Look at that. You even got merch. You've been wearing your own merch. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I got the shirts. I've been selling those. But, yeah, it's the first time actually. I haven't made shirts in over 20 years, so it's pretty fun doing it again.
That's fantastic. So you've got a lot of great things happening here. Getting back to the cassette part of things, how do you go about getting your music put on cassette? That, I think, is the coolest deal. How the hell did this happen?
Well, first let me just say that the cassettes, the vinyl has been delayed. There's a worldwide shortage of vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 2 months
everybody's
delayed.
delaying everything, and vinyl especially.
But the CDs and the cassettes are done, and they were actually put out by Spirit Coffin Publishing. It's a guy's name is Josh. He does a magazine called Grizzly Butts, and he started up a record label called Spirit Coffin Publishing. So he's the one that put all this stuff together. But I do have a lot of experience putting out CDs and cassettes and LPs. I did it professionally, actually, a long time ago. After Sorrow and back in the early 2000s, I actually did a lot of CD manufacturing and whatnot. So these days, really, there's several cassette manufacturing plants. The way you do it now, for the most part, is you have your songs all done digitally, and you upload the songs to them digitally. The layout, you go to the website, it'll give you a template for the layout. You follow the template in different types of graphics programs, and you just upload all that stuff to them, and you tell them how many cassettes you want, and the style of the cassette and the colors, that kind of stuff. And
wow.
You pay them, and you get cassettes back about 3 to 4 weeks later, depending. Actually, it could be 6 weeks these days. But it's not that difficult, but you just have to find the place that you like to work with.
I think that's amazing that you've been able
really
to make that possible. I just think that's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. Brett joins us here on our broadcast. He's got Journey into Darkness. It's a solo project. I know there's a lot of people that think that you are a band.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this and some of the different things that have happened with all this.
Well, after Sorrow broke up and being in a band for many years, this project started off, it was an all synth project. I was doing a lot of MIDI and experimenting on synthesizers. And the first album actually is all synthesizers. There's no guitar on it. And a few years back, I let a long time pass, and I started writing the music again. I picked up the guitar again, and I started fiddling around with everything. And I just decided that I didn't want to go through having a band again. It's great to be able to play live and play with other people, but at this juncture in my life, I wasn't interested in rehearsing 3 nights a week anymore and dealing with bands and band members and clashing personalities and all that fun stuff. And I said, I don't want to deal with that. And I also wanted to take control creatively of all the elements of the work that I was doing. And, being a solo band, that is the way to do it.
So I'm starting to, and this is just sort of something I've started noticing. A lot of successful musicians that I've been interviewing the last couple weeks, they have this attitude of, I don't have to put up with this nonsense anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I interviewed a band a couple weeks ago who said that, they could tour, they could go out and do some stuff, but they don't really feel like sleeping on other people's couches. They don't really feel like driving down the road, at 5, 6 in the morning. And they end up coming back, having a lot of good experiences, but they didn't make any money. And they're like, we don't have to
You
do this
lose money.
anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you lose money on these, and it's frustrating. I did it back again, when I was 25 years old, and I guess it was kind of fun at the time, but sometimes it wasn't. We had accidents in the middle of the night. We've had flat tires in the middle of the night. You lose money. We've had shows at crack houses. Some of those shows are not fun. So this time, I'm in my 50s at this point. I'm not about to start doing that stuff again. And kudos to all those people that can still do it or haven't stopped doing it. That's awesome. But I'm just I'm just not going to do it.
Well, and see, this is the thing. Like you were talking about, you could do all sorts of things with your music and have a solo project and not have to worry about any egos or any nonsense. So I think it's good that you're doing your thing.
Yeah, it's become a lot more. I'll use the word popular. There's a lot more one-man bands these days, or maybe two-man bands. Just the technology allows you to do that now. The home studios are within reason for everyone to purchase and learn how to use. And I think that is the catalyst mainly. There were one-man bands back in the 80s and 90s. They were there. But the fact that it's much easier now, the barrier to entry is a lot lower, so there's a lot more people doing it.
Yes, it is. It is a lot easier to make a lot of this work without any nonsense. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's tough. It is tough though, doing everything. It really takes a long time to write a song and to do all the parts and get it all together, and to do a full album of it. Whereas before with a band, there was everyone was put in their parts or would write songs. You could split all that up. It would be a lot quicker.
We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program, Coast to Coast and Border to Border on iHeartRadio today, and also AM/FM 247.com, also live on Twitch as well. Infinite Universe, Infinite Death, the third album. So you have been basically songwriting for 30 years. Tell us a little bit about what you've learned over that time and that aspect of things.
I guess initially you learn a little bit of theory, and you just want to write songs and you just want to play. And so that's really what I was focused on earlier on. And then over the years, I've picked up some more theory. I certainly don't have a very deep knowledge of theory, but I have enough I have enough theory to think I know what I'm doing, and hopefully not sound stupid when I talk about it. But so the process now, I guess, it's not actually easier. I believe it or not, after all these years, it's not like I sit down and the songs just flow out of me, and it takes me 2 days and I'm finished with a full song. It's still a very laborious process. It takes me weeks, if not months, sometimes to complete songs. Yeah. Learn to use the equipment better. The studio equipment and understanding how the studio equipment works. I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo in my head.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good.
So in that case, I've learned a lot more as far as the technical aspects of it. So I've never actually before the last year's album, I never did any mixing on my own. I had done a lot of mastering, but not mixing. And now I know how to mix, and I know. So it's the technical aspect that I've done a lot more learning with. And again, it's kind of funny though, but after 30 years, I can take from a lot of different styles and genres, and the way things have progressed over the years, the music has progressed, and kind of put those elements into my music now. But the process is still difficult.
We have got a great guest with us today. Brett Carlin joins us here on our broadcast. Journey into Darkness is his latest solo project, and of course, Brett was part of the classic death metal band Sorrow. They were on Roadrunner Records from 91 to 93. So when Roadrunner just basically expurgated all these death metal bands from the label, did someone ever think about coming in and a label coming in and swooping all that up? Or because I would think if they would get rid of all these bands, there would be somebody that would be like, well, obviously we can make some money here. Or did that
Right.
not happen?
It really didn't happen. Some of the bands just disappeared. Some of the bands went on to. Some of the other bands did go to other labels, so that did happen in a sense where it was individual, but no single label came in and grabbed, like say 5 or 6 of the bands. That did not
Yeah.
happen. It was more. It was just more of one here, one there type of a deal. And don't forget, they kept the 2 or 3 bands that were selling the best.
Ha
So
ha! Yes, of
so
course.
I hate to say it, we were not the cream of the crop, but Roadrunner was a fairly large label at the time. So we still sold several thousand copies of our album, but that wasn't enough for them. They were really looking for tens of thousands at that point. So we weren't at that level, but we were at a level where I'm surprised that some of the smaller labels didn't have any interest in us, because they could have definitely sold a few thousand,
Yeah.
which is good for a small label.
Well, yeah, I think they could have, there is a lot of labels out there that are, little tiny labels that have all sorts of bands on them. So I
Yeah.
think somebody could have come along and made a little bit of money with that.
Yeah, I think they did with certain bands like Immolation, although they did some more records, but Suffocation, those bands eventually went on to other labels, and they did they did well for those labels.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're still around, both of those bands, which it just still is amazing to me and dumbfounding that they're still doing it, and they're still as heavy as they were and as fast as they were, and it's 30 years.
So when you were doing when you guys were doing Sorrow, what was one of the I guess major places that you got feedback from folks that were buying your music? Was it a certain state or certain country? Kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
We didn't have a lot of that information back then. I mean, right now you can get up to the minute sales of everything everywhere, all the data that's available. That data wasn't available, and honestly, Roadrunner wasn't about to just start giving any of that type of information to us either. So I can't really say where we sold best. I will assume, since I was from Long Island, that we did a lot of sales in New York and Long Island, or at least like the Northeast region.
Yeah.
I do know that we did okay in Japan, because they did actually release the CD and vinyl in Japan. So we did have some following, and the artist who drew the cover for our album called Hatred and Disgust, that album was painted by a Japanese artist. And Hero,
Wow.
and a phenomenal artist. And unfortunately, he died, I think, in 2005 of cancer. And it's actually really sad, because he was a phenomenal artist, and he didn't get a chance to do that many covers. And he was just fantastic. And it was very sad that he died so young.
Man, that is too bad, because I think that's awesome that death metal in Japan is a is a big thing.
Yeah, they love metal.
I think it's
Japan,
great.
So.
I think it's fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. Brett Carlin joins us here on our broadcast, Journey into Darkness, Infinite Universe, Infinite Death. And he's with us here via the magic of the old Skip Skype. Yes, the old Skyper, Rooney. And he's with us here talking about his music and everything else. So how long after Sorrow sort of just, I guess, became a non-entity did you move into what you're doing now?
It was almost immediate, in the sense that actually in the last several months of Sorrow, I was starting to play with the keyboard and write some songs and stuff. And we kind of broke up officially, I guess, in '93, if I'm getting that correct. And by '96, I had put out an album, my first album, which actually was on my own label. I did start up a small label. I owned a record store at the time also. It's a whole other story.
We're going to talk about that. I definitely want to talk about that.
Okay. So I released on my own label with a few other bands, and so that was '96. So it was almost immediate. It was 2 to 3 years later, but that all eventually, after about 2 or 3 years, that all kind of went by the wayside. I sold off the store. I closed the record label, and I put Journey into Darkness sort of on the back burner for a long time. I pulled it out once in a while. I would write new music for it. I would go back and forth, writing and not writing, and I did that for many years. And then it was almost I guess 18, 19 years passed before I said, all right, I'm going to get serious with this again. And that was around 2017, 2018. I started getting serious again with it. So at first it wasn't much time, and then there was a huge gap.
Wow. Well, at least you came back to it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm happy I did, because I missed the creative outlet of it. So I enjoyed that part of it.
So you bring up something that I definitely have to talk to you about. You owned a record store at some
Yeah.
point. How did you get interested in this?
Boy, here's the funny part. I graduated. I graduated from Stony Brook with a degree in physics and math, and I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do with those degrees.
Yeah.
And I loved music. It was, it's an integral part of my life growing up. And I just said, something where I was out in Suffolk County, which is the eastern part of Long Island, and it was lacking a store that had underground music, hardcore, punk, metal.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just kind of said, I'm going to open a store. And that was it. I took all my savings and my money, and I rented a storefront, and I ordered records and CDs, and I just started up the store.
So how did that work as far as you assembling inventory and all these things? Because you would have had to find had to have done some digging and
Sure.
all those various things.
Yeah, I'm good at that kind of stuff. So I knew a lot of record labels already, because, again, I was so into the music. So I knew a lot of distributors. I knew a lot of record labels. Called them all up, and the ones that were important to me. And, and it's straightforward pretty much. You talk to them, you ask them what their wholesale rates were. The major label stuff, which I did carry some of it, but not a lot. But some of the major label, you have to go through, at the time, was called the One Stop. And these were huge distributors that carried major labels and a lot of the mid to larger size indie labels.
Yeah.
So I called them up, and at first, it was a COD, which cash on delivery. So all the inventory, I had to pay for all the inventory coming up, and eventually you get terms with them after a couple of months. And so that was it. It was just doing a lot of legwork at first, a lot of phone calls, and just learning how to order and learning how to run a retail store from scratch.
I think that's great. So what were some of the pitfalls and some of the things that you learned along the way from doing this?
Again, just the whole aspect of retail, I guess, getting into the boring part of it, is how to run inventory, how to know to restock, what not to restock, customer service, in the sense of listening to customers and trying to figure out trends and knowing which stuff is going to sell and not ordering too much of something and too little of another. So those types of aspects. And it was a lot of fun. I did it for a couple of years. The store was called None of the Above, because we carried all the stuff that no one else really carried. And so I had done that. Yeah, I did that for a couple of years. And actually, eventually, I had the manager of my store bought the store from me. And I hate to say this, but he passed away also.
Oh, wow.
And so the store ended up having to close after that. And this was sort of around the 2000, where CD sales just kind of, took a plunge. And it was very difficult to run a record store at that time anyway. So it was kind of a tragic ending to the store. But still.
It had a good run. I think that's pretty cool that you were able to do something that kind of stood the test of time there for a while. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. You ask anyone who's over 40 on Long Island about hardcore, and or metal. They'll definitely know None of the Above records. They'll remember going there. It was a big deal back then.
That's
it
great.
was cool though. It was really a lot of fun.
That's great. So when you got ready to sell this, what kind of motivated you to do that?
Well, I was going to move to California, and it just didn't happen. So kind of in a nutshell, that's what happened. And I like to change things. I like to do stuff for a couple of years and then kind of move on. And so after I had the store for a couple of years, and again, I did the label, and I just felt like, okay, I want to kind of move on from here. And again, I was going to move, and I didn't. So some of the catalyst for selling just never came to fruition, but that was the main reason.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this is a great interview today. We've got Brett Carlin with us today. Journey into Darkness, Infinite Universe, Infinite Death. We've learned all sorts of things. I am going to play the second track, Infinite Delusion.
Cool.
Or Disillusion. Tell me a little bit about this.
You know, one of the things that I've said before is that in general, I'm not a negative person. I'm a positive person. I try to be a nice guy. I try to be happy. But there's a part of me and there's a part of life that isn't. And this song is about, basically, it's sort of a very short science fiction story where a guy who's disillusioned with where he is, the planet that he lives on. There's a lot of violence, a lot of hatred. And he says, I'm going to just go off and travel off into space and try to find another place to live. And after, circling the universe, visiting different places, he comes to the realization that utopia does not exist anywhere in the universe, that the universe, no matter where you go, you're going to find violence and you're going to find death and you're going to find misery. And that's just, that's just the way the universe works, just because that's how people survive, unfortunately. So without getting too detailed, that's sort of what the story's about.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I am really looking forward to this track. Thanks for doing this, my friend. This has definitely been a amazing interview, and I'd love to have you back when we have a little bit more time. Thanks for doing this, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad it worked out.
Definitely. Well, before we let you go, how do people get your music and get involved with you online?
Sure, easily. There's you could probably Google Journey into Darkness, but I have a Facebook page, facebook.com, obviously, and then / Journey into Darkness. I have a Bandcamp page, journeyintodarkness.bandcamp.com. Also on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music. So basically any of the streaming services, you can just type in Journey into Darkness. You might have to put in Infinite Universe to get it up, to make sure it's the band, but that's the way. That's basically the easiest way. I have a lot of different stuff up on the web. So
fantastic. Well, Brett, thanks for doing this, brother. Thanks for making time for us, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. There he goes. That's Journey into Darkness. That's Brett Carlin, and we are going to go to the track. It is interesting. And we are going to go to it here in just a few moments. Check him out. Right now, it is Journey into Darkness. It's Infinite Disillusion. that is Infinite Disillusion, Infinite Universe, Infinite Death, Journey into Darkness. Brett Carlin with us today.